Hello everyone and welcome to episode 16 of SSTO space program. Today we will continue the exploration of Duna because our robotic rover Endurance has stumbled upon something most interesting. And also we will send an orbital ambulance to help our Kerbals that are very ungrateful and not happy with the living conditions they have on the space station. But first, let me start by saying that I am extremely grateful for all the comments that you've left on my last video. The amount of support that you are showing me is really is incredible, and I thank you very much for it. I read all of your comments and I tried to answer as many as I could, and please excuse me if I haven't answered all of them. And the prevalent opinion that I could see appearing in the comments was in favor of scaling down the bases slightly and scaling down the launches so we could actually make them compatible with SSTOs. And this is the direction I really like. We will have, as you suggested, a couple of bigger launches every now and then, and we'll continue exploration using SSTOs. This is a great solution that you have offered me, and I like it very much, and I thank you very much for it. So we will start by sending an SSTO to save the Kerbal that we couldn't save in the last video, and this time we will send an SSTO that is equipped with a cargo bay instead of a crew cabin, because as we know the poor sod cannot leave his capsule, so he's kind of stuck inside. So what I did is I sent an engineer on board of this SSTO that is equipped with a screwdriver and has a docking port, a small junior docking port in his inventory. So the idea is that once they reach the capsule that the guy is stuck in, the engineer can EVA out and install the docking port on the capsule, and then we'll grab the capsule with the SSTO. As you can see, I also had a very interesting transparent Kerbal bug, which made Kerbal transparent. As you can see, you can kind of see through it, which is really nice. I was experimenting actually with the new Copernicus release because apparently it was updated, and maybe I was thinking maybe we could re-establish OPM and Xen's Planet Pack without losing FPS. So once the docking port was installed, I kind of tried to grab the capsule using our SSTO, and as you can see that worked pretty well. I was able to eat the capsule using the cargo bay, and once it was inside, it docked no problem to the docking port we had installed inside. So once this was done, we could deorbit our SSTO and land it back safely, earning a new Kerbal. I believe that you remember our first space station that we sent way back in episode, I think 7. That was our first orbital research space station that was also designed as a testing facility for all the USI life support, hub timers and recyclers and supplies consumption. Yes, so the problem is that I kind of forgot about the Kerbals on that space station, and it was designed to house them for a bit over 200 days, and yeah, in the meantime we sent Kerbals to Duna, and some time passed since that happened. And it turned out that those ungrateful bastards are not happy about living in that space station. And I really don't know why, because I'm not paying them, so they are already on holidays. And Kerbals normally pay in Kerbal Universe to go into space as tourists, and they can go there for free. And I really do not understand why, because I can kind of understand why they might be not happy about running out of snacks, but the whole fact that they want to go back to Kerbal if they can be in space is just beyond me. Nevertheless, we have to do something about that. But first, let me tell you about what we found on Duna. So, since we landed, we are already able to visit at least 4 biomes, so that was lowlands, midlands, highlands and northern basin. And what I noticed, thanks to our awesome SCANsat maps, is that next to the location where we went, in the middle of the northern basin, there is an anomaly. So, believe it or not, I haven't really explored that much of a Kerbal system, in the sense that I haven't discovered all the anomalies and so on, so I was actually pretty curious what it is. So I drove the rover autonomously, as close as I could, because unfortunately you cannot pick the target on the SCANsat map, you have to do it in the map view. So I picked the target that appeared to be as close as I could figure out on the map view, and then I decided to drive the rover manually to that location. And it turned out that, to my surprise, we found a Kerbal face on Duna, which I've never seen before. I mean, I've seen it on the videos, I haven't seen it myself, and I must say I was pretty curious about it, to be honest. I wish there were more anomalies like this in the Kerbal space program. And yeah, it looks really nice. I I wasn't expecting this for sure. And I know there are some other anomalies on Duna as well, because we have detected them from our orbital scans. Yeah, because you know, you can normally detect anomalies right now with KerbNet, which is a stock feature in Kerbal Space program, using satellites and using KerbNet. But there is a chance that those anomalies will be detected. By the way, Marcus House made a great tutorial about how you can detect anomalies using stock means. Here with SCANsat installed, I believe that whatever you do, when you have a full scan of a planetary body, you will have information about all the anomalies available on the site. But you won't know what it is until you get close. And yeah, here we are, next to giant Duna face. I suppose that's all what's left of evil Duna Kerbals from Duna Attacks series. Okay, but I think it's a high time that we did something about those ungrateful Kerbals that we have in orbit that are very unhappy about being there. So I decided that we could obviously send them back home for a probably well-deserved holidays, but since we've already established that they were on holidays already, I thought that maybe instead we can send a psychologist up there that would explain them that they should be happy where they are. I don't really need to go back home. We'll see. That's the idea. So for that, I decided that we could build an SSTO ambulance that would go to carry a medic with a medbay and, you know, try to reason with them, basically. And this is STO that we're building right now. It will carry a medbay, obviously, because that's how you cure Kerbals in MKS. Since they also run out of snacks, it will carry a very big snack package. So the total cargo mass of this SSTO is about 10 tons, because medbay weighs 5 tons and the big life support container also weighs 5 tons. So we have around 10 tons of payload that we want to put into orbit. In terms of delta V, we should have around 1000 to maybe 1500 meters per second in nuclear stage once we are in orbit. So after a couple of extra final touches, such as adding beacon lights and designing a special flag for this SSTO that you see right now, it was time to hire a medic, or actually a psychologist that would reason with our Kerbals. And since there were no medics in our roster, I decided that we need to hire one. And I decided that we should hire a female medic, because the studies show that they are more trustworthy. So I suppose that a female medic will deal with the issue a little bit faster than the male one would. And we need her to be pretty courageous and also a little bit stupid to actually be ready for that mission. And I also decided that we should hire her already at level 2, because with the mod that is bundled with MKS, you can actually adjust all those features in the hiring menu, and it's not completely random. So here we are with our SSTO, very colorful, as you can see, very pretty looking, with all the beacon lights, so it's a real ambulance. I'm really happy with how it looks. It looks like a real emergency vehicle that you would send up to your crew in distress, and we have a crew in distress, as it turns out. So yeah, as I said, this SSTO will have around 1000, a bit more than 1000 meters per second delta V while in orbit. It has 4 Rapier engines, so it packs quite a lot of thrust. The initial total mass of this vessel is around 68 tons, if I remember correctly. So we have quite a lot of initial thrust in jet mode, we have quite a lot of thrust in rocket mode, and quite decent thrust in nuclear mode as well. So it can go to high orbit and back, so we will be able to, if that works of course, we will be able to help our Kerbals in need, even if they are stranded somewhere else than in low Kerbal orbit. Yeah, we get into orbit no problem, as this SSTO flies really well, and as you can see, the design is also slightly different from the style that I usually use, and I wanted it to look a little bit more sci-fi than a plane would normally look like, to be aerodynamically friendly. And once we got into orbit, we were ready to an encounter with the station and dock to it. As you can see, we've arrived safely to our destination. We have a rendezvous with the station, no problem. And since some of you were really unhappy with how I dock my crafts and were telling me that the lack of alignment is unbearable, to those of you I say, yes, you're probably right, that's the case in pretty much every scenario. But you know, when you are docking 2 vessels that weigh 400 tons each, it's a tad more difficult than usually. But this time I did my best to well, maybe not my best, but I actually put a little bit more effort into aligning those crafts a little bit better. As you can see, they docked no problem. And once this was done, our team of psychologists and a pilot could begin the operation of re-establishing those Kerbals back to society. I don't really know how medbays work in MKS. Let's face that, and I want to try it out, to be honest. And the only thing that happened actually is that for one Kerbal, the hub time was reset, but all of the rest and even that Kerbal remained tourists, and I don't really know why. They had enough supplies. The medbay was consuming colony supplies that I also brought with us. I tried time warping even to the point where all of the colony supplies that we brought with us were used. Nothing changed really. I read some documentations on MKS sites that didn't explain much. Apart from that, it should happen. I read what other people were experiencing with this and kind of issues, and they also said that there is no timer on those medbays, but eventually you should just wait and be patient, and your patience will be cured. But that did not occur for me. So yeah, that didn't occur for me for over 100 days. So I suppose either it's not working or it's not worth it. One of the two. And we might end up actually having to bring them back home. And while we were wasting our time on those ungrateful Kerbals that do not appreciate the beauty of space, Endurance arrived at Duna Western Canyon. And by looking at the landscape that we see from that canyon, I'm kind of reconsidering whether choosing Duna for our colony was such a good idea with those sandstorms. It's pretty gloomy here. Maybe we should go to Eve. I don't know. Anyway, we transferred as usual all the data that Endurance took from the canyon back to our Duna research station that is in Duna orbit, and currently has its laboratories almost full of science, almost full of data for data processing and extra science that we'll get. In a couple of days we'll get around 1000 science extra, and a bit later, a couple of weeks later, we will get even more science, and that's not even all. The tech tree is almost entirely unlocked right now. There are just a couple of nodes left. Once this is done, we will have nothing left to unlock. So we will be able to convert all that science into extra money that we'll use to build even better vessels. But until that happens, we still have plenty of things to do, and one of those things is refueling Kerbin Cargo Terminal, which is our refueling station for the space freighters. And I'm happy to say, with the immense support that has been provided to me by the mod outer Private Flip, I managed to get Routine Mission Manager to work, and we've been able to figure out what was causing the problems for me, and that was actually the Modular Flight Integrator. The version that I was using actually is conflicting with this mod, and prevented the vessel from spawning. Apparently it is solved now, so the most recent release of MFI won't have this problem, and if you want to use this mod, Routine Mission Manager, in 1.3, and you will have the MFI for 1.3, then you won't see any issues. And as I said previously, this mod is a really good and useful mod, which allows you to refuel and resupply your space stations automatically, or actually do a lot of missions, even tourist missions, automatically. All you need to do is just fly this kind of mission once, and then the mod will do this for you in the background. How cool is that? And all you need to do once the mission is completed, you have to just go into the vessel, transfer all the things that you want to transfer manually, and then the mod also will land the vessel for you, if you manage to do that while you were recording the mission. So it's a very good and useful mod, and I highly recommend it. Now we can resupply our space station to full, and then I figured we can also use it to refuel and resupply our Duna colony ship. And today we will launch the first part of our Duna colony ship, and I figured that we could launch at least one part every episode, so this ship will be ready in about 5 to 6 launches, I suppose, and will be refueled in the meantime, and should be ready way before next Duna transfer window occurs. So let's jump right into the vehicle assembly building, and let me show you what module are we sending up today. And as you can see, our pick for today are engines, and the engine compartment with the larger reaction wheel. I just wanted to quickly run you through how I launched this kind of massive payloads into orbit using SSTO rockets, because as I said in my previous video, it might look like it's challenging, but it's really isn't. And I also wanted to address some issues that some people had with me putting the heat shields on top. And that's a recurring comment I see on my channel. So basically what you need to do is just you create a rocket that is made of 2 largest size 3 tanks and add a mammoth engine to it. And then just, you know, add all of the corresponding parts to create a relatively aerodynamically friendly nose for that rocket. And it's an SSTO rocket, basically. And this SSTO rocket is able to put 10% of its mass into orbit as payload. So the method from here is actually pretty simple. You look at your initial mass of the payload that we want to set. In our case, it was a little bit over 400 tons. You create one rocket like this and you just add carbon copies until the total mass of your launch vehicle is 10 times what you had initially as your payload. And you're done. Over. That's all you need to do. Pretty simple. Obviously, this is calculated based on the Mammoth engine ISP and thrust to weight ratio. So yeah, so this particular setup works for engines that have exactly the same properties that Mammoth engine has. So it would work with vector engines as well. Yeah, but basically it's simple. That's what I wanted to say. There is no complex calculations involved in that. In KSP, you don't have those kind of problems like in reality, where you need to worry about, you know, the acoustic profile, the shake tests of your rocket, anything like that. It's non-existent in KSP. So if you have anything that works, you can just scale it up and it will work also. Another thing is that the heat shields on top. So the reason why I put inflatable heat shields on top is that they really work great as drogue chutes in the upper atmosphere and not as good as heat shields, to be honest, because they put so much drag that it's actually really difficult to keep your vessel pointed prograde when you're re-entering. So I was thinking that, yeah, so they generate a lot of drag, so you're slowing down fast enough that you normally won't be able to overheat, and it's really difficult to point the vessel prograde. So well, let's not fight it. Let's just re-enter retrograde and see how it works. And it turned out to be working really well. I mean, even better than with regular heat shield. So yeah, that's my method. It's pretty simple. They also help you with landing because they still work as kind of very high velocity drogue chutes in lower atmosphere. So yeah, this is why I use them. As you can see, it's another beautiful morning at KSC and we are ready to launch our massive payload again, which looks a little bit ridiculous, but well, you know this channel. This is the kind of stuff that we are doing here from time to time. Yeah, we're ready to launch. This monster is running right now, so I suppose in reality the launch pad would explode, the rocket would explode as well due to all the shaking and the immense vibrations that those engines would put. But yeah, as I said, there is really not that much to launching those kind of vessels because each rocket is an SSTO rocket, so you can think about that as actually what SpaceX is trying to do with their Falcon Heavies. They just wanted to slap 3 Falcon 9 rockets together and triple the payload capabilities. But reality is not KSP, and they run in all hosts of problems regarding the vibrations, the the stress and everything like that. In KSP, this is non-existent. So if you have one rocket that works, you can just make carbon copies of that rocket, slap it together, and it will still work most of the time. So as you can see, we are circularizing here, no problem. But since I forgot to install the RCS thrusters, we had to get creative in separating our payload, so I just gave it a little bump and time warped so it would naturally float away. So once this was done, we can deorbit our rocket and land it back safely at KSC. So yes, the first part of our Duna vessel is in orbit, and we'll try to add 1 or 2 components every video, and hopefully it will be ready soon. And with that, we can land our rocket, and as you can see, with the heat shields and pointing retrograde, our vessel is still slowing down really fast. It's very stable, so they are working as expected. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed, and I hope that you don't mind this slight change in style. If you do, please let me know in the comments below. If you like it, please give this video a like, and I will see you next time.